I got a very angry DM this morning saying, you can't call Jesus woke. Jesus wasn't woke. That word didn't even exist. You are twisting scripture using liberal buzzwords to rage bait people. Da, 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 da. Let's talk about it. I understand that Jesus was not by definition woke. I would furthermore argue that no one is really by definition woke, because woke doesn't really have a clear agreed upon definition. It's not really a word that means all that much. It is a word that at its core exists for the sole purpose of weaponization. It's a word that at its core was only made up so that people could dismiss and degrade people they disagree with. That is what the word means. That is what the word is for. And I get it, because saying that you are anti-woke does feel like cooler and like powerful and better than saying you are anti-social justice or anti-human rights or anti-helping other people regardless of personal cost, which if you strip away the weaponization and if you strip away kind of the vicious intentionality that surrounds the word and try to give it its own definition, like independent of the way that people will like twist and weaponize it, that at its core is what it means, right? Helping other people regardless of personal, cost or impact. That's woke. So Jesus was not woke because the word had not yet been made up and weaponized when he was walking around. So why did I call Jesus woke? I have not made it a secret what my goal on this page is. I am pretty loud and proud about the fact that I want to challenge fellow Christians and that I want to initiate conversations that push Christians outside of their typical comfort zones, right? Because I think that's where we grow. That's where we develop. That's where we become more like Jesus, is when we are pushed into spaces where we are uncomfortable. You don't grow when you're comfortable. And I want to stimulate critical thought on topics that maybe the church doesn't always encourage critical thought upon. So I knew that using the word woke was going to accomplish both of those things. If you want to label that rage baiting, I don't really care, go ahead. But the goal is not rage. The goal is intellectual conversation, spiritual development, and critical thinking. Furthermore, Jesus fed people for free. Jesus provided medical treatment to people for free. Jesus taught people for free. Jesus helped people for free. Jesus commanded that every person who follows him do all of those things as well. He commanded that we defend the least of these, the widow, the orphan, the immigrant. We welcome the stranger. We fight for the people who do not have anyone fighting for them. We visit the sick and imprisoned. And unfortunately, I don't think taking a selfie in front of the alligator Alcatraz sign counts. And Jesus even went so far as to say that anyone who does not do all of those things that he did and is telling us to do, on the day of judgment will be turned away, and Jesus will say, I do not know you. Regardless of whether or not they believe in him, regardless of their faith, if they do not have the action of following Jesus' commands, Jesus will say, I do not know you. That is really intense. That is really radical. And the word didn't exist to be flung at Jesus. But when you look at the people who exist in the world where the word does exist, people who live at the same time as woke, and you look at the people who are feeding and teaching and helping and healing others for free, when you look at the people who are defending the orphan and the widow and the immigrant and the least of these, welcoming the stranger, visiting and fighting for the sick and in prison, all of the people who are actively doing what Jesus told them to do and trying to initiate positive change so that other people are doing the things that Jesus told us to do, when you look at those people now, there is a little word that starts with W that gets flung pretty consistently and pretty viciously in their general direction, which is something interesting to think about.